Good morning and welcome to Coffee Chat with David and Kylie Knight.
Good morning. I'm so glad you are here with us on this chilly Friday morning. Friday, February 12th, 2021. It is chilly, at least here.
Yes.
And I hear it is in other parts of the country
many
too.
Places of the world.
That are more used to it. But
that's true. But
we're not. So
this is terrible.
We have multiple layers on. Thermals going on. Okay, maybe not quite. But we do have heaters and all. Yeah.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
Wow.
And we got our coffee. Hey, be sure, if you're here and you're watching, use the hashtag HelloNights and hashtag Cup of Awesome. Let people know. And then, of course, the liking and sharing is always a good thing to do.
That is appreciated. Sharing onto your page to let other people know.
Because we have an amazing guest today that people need to know about. And so we want to make sure he gets a ton of airtime.
Absolutely.
And of course, Josh Kohler is hanging with
us. Good morning, Josh. Hi.
And Josh, I already know your question because you ask it every week, and I love that. What coffee are we drinking? We just finished off our Rwandan from Kofi, and then today we had to switch over to blonde espresso from Starbucks.
It's funny that we're going through our coffee a little bit quicker in the cold weather, I've noticed.
True.
We're just sitting there like, I need something warm. Let's have another coffee. Just another one. Just one more. Just one more. And so we usually have enough to get us through until when he roasts each Friday. But like, we're not going to make it. We're not going to make it. We've got to go to Starbucks and get some more beans. So, that's going to have to get us by.
Yeah.
But we've got more coming.
We got more coming. He's roasting today.
Yes.
Probably as we speak.
Oh,
and Zeke, yo to you as well, my friend.
Hey, Zeke.
Always a pleasure to have you. Zeke, who just started a new job. So that's exciting.
Congratulations.
I watched one of his live videos yesterday. It was really good.
Oh, cool, man. So excited for you.
Which is super awesome.
Very, very good.
So, so this week we've been home.
That is one blessed church to have you there,
Amen
my friend.
Amen to that. We have been working from home. We have a couple of big projects that we've been plowing through this week. Right?
That's true.
And then, hey, Zeke, absolutely, man, of course. And then so we're trying to win at the internet, at Netflix, at streaming. And so we've been going through different series.
Yes.
We just finished Blacklist.
Right.
Which is a pretty intense little show if you've never seen it.
But it's good. It keeps you going. And there was, 6 seasons?
7 seasons.
7 seasons currently. So it keeps you occupied for a while. That's the other great thing. It's not one of those that has 3 and you're like, oh, we're already done. Now I've got to find something else. This just keeps on going and you're just happy for a while.
Yeah.
You just sit down on the couch. There's another episode.
You just keep going.
So,
Well, so and all that to say that we were with some friends a week or 2 ago.
Yeah.
And they mentioned that they were going through Star Wars chronologically.
Yes. Do you want to explain what that means?
Yeah. So, I think most people know, of course, Star Wars, the original trilogy is episodes 4, 5, and 6, and then they went back and did 1, 2, and 3.
And then they cause all kinds of debates in here right now.
It's true.
Some people.
And then they came in and they created Clone Wars and Rebels, which are series. And then there's The Mandalorian, and there's Solo, and there's Rogue One.
Which I've got to say, I'm loving Mandalorian.
Oh, good.
Anyone else?
Mandalorian's so good.
Loving it. Yeah.
So, but anyways, all that to say that they're going through it chronologically. Like Star Wars has actually created an official chronological order of watching it, and so they're like, "Oh, we're doing this. You should do this."
And like they were saying, like the Clone Wars. You don't watch like season 1, episode 1 and just work your way through. Apparently, I don't know why they did it this way. You kind of have to move around.
Yeah.
In the seasons and different episodes.
Exactly. Yeah. And so you have to jump around. So what was funny?
Funny story.
So all this, Disney owns Star Wars now.
Yes.
So that makes Princess Leia a Disney princess. And but anyways, so they were saying that Disney has all the stuff, and you can watch on Disney Plus all the movies and everything. And they're like, but they have everything except for Clone Wars.
Right.
So they went and they found the Clone Wars DVD set, and they paid like $50 for it or something like that. And so the other day we were starting into it, and I was like, hey, we're getting ready to start this, and they're like, well, you have to wait for us to get through Clone Wars so we can let you borrow our DVDs.
Like, we're nearly done. You can have it when we're finished with it.
Yeah, I said, well, but Clone Wars is on Disney Plus, and our friend's like, no, it's not, and we had this whole long debate over whether or not it was on Disney Plus. Turns out it is.
What? You were right.
I was right.
David actually made a video. He's sitting there showing the TV. He's like, see, if you go to this, I know it just says last season, but if you click that, and you'll see all the seasons down there. And she's like, what?
She was so mad.
I've been switching DVDs constantly to go back and forth between them all. Up out of her chair.
Yeah. So anyways.
There you go. So that's where we're starting. So that's going to keep us busy for a while.
Exactly. Zeke, you've never watched Star Wars? Oh my goodness.
What?
Oh, Zeke,
well,
what are we going to do with you?
I hear it's going to be a little chilly for a while, so now's a good time, maybe.
True. Mandalorian, I think Mandalorian is worth it. I don't know if it's worth having to go through episode 1 to watch Mandalorian. Episode 1 is the movie we watched the other night, not last night's.
All of the Star Wars stuff. Oh, okay. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll keep us busy. So, speaking of keeping busy, we have an amazing guest today.
Yes.
Yes, who is super, super busy. He is a youth pastor.
Glad we called him today because he's about to head out of town again.
I know he was so gracious to us. He's like, well, I think I can fit it in. I'm heading out of town for some shows this weekend, so we can try. So we're going to try to keep our time moving for him because he has got a lot going on. But he's a youth pastor.
Yeah.
He is also a comedian, stand-up comedian, and he's also just a super nice guy.
So let's get started.
So we hope you will welcome our friend and now yours. Where's my button? Our friend and now yours, Mr. Adrian Lucio. What is up?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good. How about yourself?
Good morning. Welcome to Coffee Chat.
Thank you, guys. I'm excited. I came prepared too.
You did?
I don't have the nice mugs like y'all do, but hey.
So what are you drinking there? Gotta know.
It's some really fancy. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It's some really fancy brand. Oh, I forget. Folgers? What is it? Folgers? Yeah.
Folgers. I like
that. So exotic.
Well, it's funny because early on in our coffee journey, that's what we were drinking, and our pastor found out that we were drinking Folgers, and he was so livid with us.
He's like, throw it away. And then he actually gave us like coffee, a grinder, and he's like, use this.
Otherwise, we were kicked out of the church.
Yes.
I definitely need to meet your pastor then.
Yeah. Yeah, he'd like it.
And then you'll end up with fancy coffee mugs.
All right, so let's get started. Question number 1, as we love to start, tell us your faith story. How did you come to know Jesus?
Well, I was born at a really young age, and from there.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I was born at a really young age, and from then I was born in South Texas, down in the Rio Grande Valley, and I grew up, spent my life down there. I grew up in church and in youth groups for the most part. I was always a wild kid. I tell my youth now that I said, what makes me a great youth pastor now is the fact that I can keep up with the rowdiest kids today because I was that rowdy kid.
Practice.
So all of those crazy antics and shenanigans that kids find themselves in, I was that kid in that youth group. So I'm like ahead of the curve. No, I had goals and dreams when I was a kid. Since second grade, I wanted to be a stand-up comedian. So I've always been. My mom made a joke when I was a kid that when I was born, my umbilical cord was a microphone. Like, you know, that was literally
Nice.
I was born just ready to talk and ready to. I mean, I was talking before I was walking easily. So so that I was always that kid, and I loved my friends at youth group, and I had really good youth pastors growing up. So I think that they had a lot of patience and a lot of grace. And as a matter of fact, when I got into youth ministry, I called them with the biggest apology you can ever imagine in your life because I truly felt what it was that I was.
Yeah.
So but I ended up really I grew up in church, and when I got into stand-up I realized how secular it really was and how fake that life was. So I met comedians of huge names. I mean, I've opened for tremendous names at some point, and it's amazing to hear how sad and how lost the world is when it comes to that. So one of the best advice I ever got from a comedian was, "Hey, you're a Christian." He says, just because you're a Christian, he says, that doesn't necessarily mean you need to keep it in the churches. He says, you could go out, you could do comedy clubs, you can do that, and you could just be the light in the darkness that people need. And I'll never forget that. And so I continued just on the path that I was, and I was doing comedy clubs, and it was so weird because I was a young kid. I was 19, 18 years old, and I'd be traveling, and I really got just kind of everything thrown at me at once, and it was just kind of surreal. And my faith was tested multiple times. So it was one of those truly kind of tests of faith and stand your ground kind of moments. And I fell in love with it, but it was in 2015. It became time for me to figure out if I wanted to go back on tour, if I wanted to do something different. And I got a call from a church that actually asked me to be their youth pastor, and they had zero youth group. They had none. So it was a brand new. It was an older church, and they had the pastor reached out to me saying, "Hey, listen, this is going to sound weird, but I think you'll be good at being our youth pastor, and because you're funny, you're likable, and it cannot get any worse." So
That's a good way to look at it.
she was. They were just like, it's not really a gamble when you have nothing to lose. And so she let me kind of go in there and try it, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love, with youth ministry, and it kind of brought me back to what it was I was raised with, because it was actually a familiar territory.
Wow.
And so now I kind of get to live that best of both worlds. I kind of, I kind of say I have that life where, one day my name is up in lights, and then the next day it's up on a church name tag of some sort, so it's quite fun.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I love, obviously you get your humor from your mother, because she came up with the joke about your umbilical cord. I love that.
Yes.
Well, actually, not really.
No?
To be honest with you, my mom is great. Like, no disrespect to my mom, but I got a lot of it from my grandmother, because my grandmother was one who was funny, but she didn't realize she was funny. So it was actually just a complete 180, that she said funny things, but nobody really, it was one of those, you really had to dig deep, and it made me have that appreciation for that. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Grandma.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you've kind of already talked about this next bit, so I'm gonna change our second question for you just slightly, because I'm curious. So as a Christian comedian, and as your comedian friend pointed out, you can be the light in the darkness.
Sure.
When you go into those places where you are as we always say, you may be the only Bible somebody ever reads, right? Like
Right.
you're a living epistle. And so when you go into those places, how do you prepare yourself for that environment? And do you look for ways? I mean, I know you look for ways, but how do you prepare yourself to look for ways to bring gospel into that place?
I really think that people have this. Not everybody, but I think some people have this misconception about Christianity. That they don't realize. Like, so a lot of people have this belief that Christianity is a religion, and that's what it. And it's not. It's a lifestyle. So it's a relationship and a lifestyle with your Savior. So I guess it goes to that fun element. It's like, oh, you're a Christian. Why are you here? Or, oh, you're a Christian. I didn't know you can have fun and hang out and be a genuine, laughable human. It's like, so, I guess that in a sense that they, non-Christians have this mentality that we don't have a sense of humor, that we don't laugh at some of the same things that they do, or vice versa, So, and I tell people, it's like, they're just, I guess they have this thing that Christians are so openly judgmental. And I'm like, no, I'm a normal Christian. I judge you silently. No, it's, how do I prepare myself? I really just kind of pray about it. And I go, God, just use me in a way that's unorthodox. Just, just when I'm there, I'm not going to necessarily, thank you. I'm not gonna actually, really put myself in an awkward situation, because I don't want that. But at the same time, I want people to know about me. And so one of the biggest obvious things is I have Christian tattoos. So like I have tattoos all over me. I have forgiven right here and be still, and I have John 3:30 right here. So I mean, people, so people ask me about my tattoos all the time. So oh, what does that say? Forgiven, or oh, so this guy's a Christian, he must be, or something like that. So I kind of drop little subtle hints and everything throughout.
I love that. Well, and I love, you talked about how a lot of people have a misconception about Christians that, we're not fun, we don't know how to have a good time. I'll never forget, I saw an interview with Jeff Allen many years ago, another comedian.
Love
and and it was on like, I don't know, it was TBN or Daystar, one of those, and somebody asked him about comedy, and he's like, look, we have the keys to the kingdom. We should be the happiest, most joy-filled people in the entire world.
It's true.
Why don't our faces show that? And that's one of the reasons he does what he does. So I'm so thankful that you're out there doing that, and I appreciate your efforts for that.
Love
Absolutely.
that.
No, people, it's amazing when I'd be working at a church or something like that, and people ask me, they're like, so where's your next show? I'm like, I'm at a comedy club. And they're just like, oh, really? Their face just lights up. Or, oh, you're at a bar. And it's funny. Well, I tell people, well, it's like, well, first of all, I'm Methodist, so it's okay. But, that's it surprises people, I guess, in a sense that that one can go out and do it. And so I really, whenever I sell myself, out into the comedy world, I tell people, I said, being a Christian comedian is a good thing. I'm not disregarding that by no means, but the way that I just kind of tell myself is I just market myself more as a comedian, and I happen to be a Christian. And so I really just let that go, because I like that element too of being able to go in past those barriers a little bit, and you know what, work. And there's been times where I've worked with headliners who were raunchy and who were there, but at the same time I'd open for them and people would go, oh my gosh, this kid didn't cuss once. It's just like
They notice.
You could just see an obvious difference and go, man, this kid was really good, and yet you realize that he stood for something. So to me, I kind of like having that barrier a little bit. So I tell people, I'm like, yes, no, definitely I'm a Christian comedian, and if you want to sell me that way, that's fine, but I would like to know that I'm just a comedian, and my personal life happens to be a Christian. So it's true to me, and it's undeniable fact.
It's awesome.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference with the two when you hear the we've gone to see comedians, at the local improv club or whatever, and there's very different feel in the room, even from those who cuss a lot and those who don't.
Yeah.
And there were times too when a big name headliner would and who was a dirty act. I'll never forget this. He actually came to me and he told me, he says, listen, he says, I've been doing, and he made, huge money. He was a big name. He came up to me and he says, I personally love what you do. He says, because I can't do it. And he says, I bring you on. He says, because I'm envious the fact that you can go and stand true to what you believe in. And on top of that, work clean. He says, I couldn't work clean a day in my life. And he says, I respect you. And he says, I respect everything you stand for. And that's a good feeling too, knowing that you've made that connection with people.
Yeah. Can open so many doors to conversations, can't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So good.
Very cool.
So good.
All right, so you've talked about the comedy stuff. I want to go back to you as a youth pastor. So
go for it.
You've been there for a while. So what challenges do you feel teens are facing currently, and how can the church support the students and the youth pastor?
You know what's funny is I actually just started a new church literally last week. So I am literally first day hazy again at this new church. But so I'm getting weird stares already, like, okay, what's this kid about? But
perfect.
No, but from my previous churches that I've been at 2 previous churches. What I've learned is the fact that people seem to downgrade, or not downgrade, or even some people disregard teenagers' problems. Mm-hmm. They don't realize that what they're going through and the amount of hurt that they actually have and confusion they have is very real. So, and also what I think people leave out too is the fact that it really kind of hurts me when churches do not really pay attention to their youth ministry. Because you got to think about it, is that those particular kids is the financial future of your church. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, it's like if you don't have rowdy teenagers at your church that are just, even though they're rambunctious, that are butts and seats, and you don't have babies crying, then your church has a deadline. That's literally what it is.
That's
so,
a good point.
I mean, and so. I really want people to know that a church that really supports teenagers and really takes the time and gets a right youth pastor in there, not just a glorified babysitter. I mean, that gets the right person in there with the right heart and the right mindset and genuinely wants to have that connection with those kids and that wants to make a difference. In there, that's going to be the best results, and that can really pour into the lives of those teenagers, because you want those teenagers to realize that this is barely their first steps in ministry, is that you coming back and it's like, hey, I want you to get out of this youth building and I want you to go sit in that church pew, is that I'm literally creating a transition for you and creating that building block. So I think a big thing there is churches that don't realize that. I think some, they're just like, oh, that's the youth and that's what they do. And they don't have any they don't have any thoughts or anything like that there. It's just kind of like herding cats. It's just like, that's them. So that's one. And as far as youth pastors, is that they don't realize the amount of work it is. So I mean, people don't. They think of me as a guy who goes and plays dodgeball and and eats pizza and everything, and that's not it. That could be far from it. I've had 2 a.m. phone calls with teenagers that were suicidal. I've had I've had to go and sit through things like a 2-hour-long tennis tournament that was middle school.
You are a saint.
But you get calls of all things, and one of the best, if anybody on listening is a youth pastor, one of the best advice of youth ministry I can ever give you is, even if you show up after halftime, you still showed up. So I mean, so
It's true.
even if you don't,
True.
that to the kid, it just means that you showed up and that you took the time out of your day that you care about them. So you don't have to sit there an entire boring tennis tournament. You don't have to do anything like that. Just simply show up, sit, and support, and then from there, all they want to see is the fact that somebody took the time out of their day for them.
I love that.
Yeah, that's so people. If people acknowledge how much work and heartbreak, and everything goes into us. So I mean, it's definitely not an easy job, and it's not for the weak-hearted either.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, we've seen churches where the youth pastor was kind of a placeholder, right?
Yeah.
Like like you said, somebody who's a glorified babysitter. And I always think that's such a shame because those teens need as much investment as anybody else. And I think the youth pastor needs investment in them too. Like they need to be encouraged. They need to be, let them know that hey, we're on your side.
They're a real human.
Really, they're not a cat.
They're not a cat, and they need love too, like the rest of the stuff.
Absolutely.
And just a little crazier.
A lot crazier. That's one of the things we love
Some
about
more than others. That's why we love them.
But we were talking to Grant Bird a few weeks back, and he talks about turning the ownership of that ministry over to the students because it's their ministry, right? And so just that investment, I think, is so important. And again,
the youth have so much to offer.
They do, and that's one of the reasons I was so excited to talk to you today. Obviously because of the comedy piece, but because of your passion for youth ministry, I just think that's fantastic. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what advice would you have for those who have an unusual passion like comedy or magic, but still feel a calling to the local ministry? How do you balance those two poles?
Well, first of all, if you're interested in comedy or magic, let me tell you this: do not chase a paycheck because you will never find it. There will never be dollar amounts big enough to fulfill that calling for you. So hopefully that if you have that passion, it's because you love comedy or magic, and that's that. But no, really. My biggest advice is always when it comes to any sort of passion, whether it's youth ministry or whether it is comedy, is the fact that you always look for a job or a passion or a job that you enjoy. Indeed, and make sure that your heart's there and that you're in it for the outcome of it and not the income of it. But in that sense, as far as going for comedy goes, I can tell you this: don't expect big things to happen overnight. I mean, you look at icebergs, and yet what you don't realize is you only see the top of them. You don't look at everything that's down below them. So the amount of work and the time and effort it takes. I've had so many shows that still make me cry in my sleep because they were so bad. So. There is no remedy to fix that, and I'm sure you as an illusionist, I'm sure you've done some shows where you're just like, oh man, this is gonna tank.
Yep.
But so you have to realize that failure is always going to be part of it. So you have to go in, and the question is am I prepared to fail, and how am I prepared to bounce back? Or do I love it enough to overcome failure? Obviously if you fail once, then and you never do it again, then that shows that your passion was never really there for it.
It's true. That's
true. So it's kind of applies the same way in youth ministry. But advice when it comes to ministry also is the fact that you never really know your effect on youth until you're actually there. So, I've had so many people that have come up to me that I've asked to be volunteers because I've seen things from them. And I'm like, you know what, that would be a great fit for these teenagers. And they're just like, I hate teenagers. And I'm just like, you never know until you get like, people have this misinterpretation that these kids are rowdy and like it's like they're going into an episode of Locked Up. Like that's literally that they're going to be dealing with inmates, and it's not that at all. Is that like they're just so they feel so unqualified at the beginning, and then when they actually get there, they realize, oh man, this is my strength. Or they make. I had one that I brought her in to teach Sunday school, and she loved it. I mean, she just grabbed onto it, and she became my permanent Sunday school teacher.
Nice.
You never really know until you're there, and so never really. So if youth ministry may seem odd to you, I'd say give it a try, because that's when you would officially know if it's a fit or not. So.
That's true. That's true.
Yes.
That's some really great advice. In fact, Josh Kohler says, in it for the outcome and not the income. That's excellent advice for both sides of that equation, for sure.
Is.
Well, cool, man. Well, you have given us some really fantastic answers to some deep questions, which we always love. So now we're going to shift things up a little bit and do something a little more fun with our lightning round that we call 5 questions.
5 questions.
All right, let's get started. First question: what are you binge watching right now?
Oh, I don't binge. That's gonna sound weird.
Ooh.
I don't. I write a lot, so I mean, I'm typically last show that I watched that I actually binged was The Office. Before it got off Netflix, so I binged.
Smart.
Nice.
I'm a huge Office nut, because when I heard that there was a deadline, I'm like, I need to finish this. So the Office is one, and there's a show. So if you, on Netflix, that's what it was, and on Hulu, there was a show called Last Man on Earth, which was great too. Because I'm a huge fan. This can sound weird. I'm a huge fan of SNL alumni, obviously. But Will Forte was always a great character, a great actor for me. So when he got his own show, I was excited about it, and I wasn't disappointed. So
Nice.
Cool.
Nice. Yeah, no, that was a great show. We loved watching that. Kind of a quick side note, we did a cruise ship a few years back, and I found out later on that Will Forte was one of the passengers on our cruise ship.
So he saw us perform.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so second question. If you could have, now you've done a ton of stuff, but if you could have any other job than the one you have right now, what would it be?
Oh, without question, and my girlfriend Brittany can attest to this, because it's driven her nuts sometimes. And a pilot.
Ooh.
I've always loved aviation, and as a matter of fact, I have an airplane simulator on my phone that I play, and I love aviation. I love flying. Flying is my favorite form of travel. So believe it or not, some people are like, "Oh, I hate flying." Any chance I get on a plane, I'm ecstatic. So definitely a pilot. And if, until I saw the price of flight school, and then I was like, I'm going to stick to telling jokes.
I'm sure the flight simulator on your phone's exactly the same as flight
Oh
school.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would just like to say that if there ever came a time where if I'm ever sitting on a 747 and they said, "Hey, can anybody fly this thing?" I would get to raise my hand, because I go, you know what? I've played over 100 hours of flight simulator.
Yeah.
And I feel like
You're qualified.
That's fantastic.
I feel like so.
Yes. That's great. All right. What is your favorite to-go order?
Oh, that's tough, because I'm a youth pastor.
Right.
Yes.
So I eat cheap, and I'm a comedian, and I eat cheap. I hate to say it, Taco Bell. I mean, I'm a youth pastor, so I mean, I eat what kids eat. So Taco Bell's go to. Chick-fil-A's always a good one too. Anything without a high price tag, I'm in.
I like it.
Yep. And things that are open late when you're done with the gig, right?
Love it. Yeah, absolutely.
But
So if my favorite restaurant to go to late night, I mean, is probably, I mean, in Texas though, it's Whataburger. So
there you go.
Yeah, but
I like that.
That's how I go.
Well, and again, you're in San Antonio now. You got to stop eating Taco Bell. We got to knock that out of you.
There's much better food there, my friend.
Well, you know what though? When you hang out with teenagers, you that's what they can afford. So I mean, when you got a teenager that has $4 in his pocket, you're just like, hey, that's where we're going.
But see, part of your task is to teach them to be better with their money. So
That's true. But by them being better with their money, they're asking you to pay for it.
But that's true. That is true. That's why you got the church card, right?
Yeah. Well, what church card?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yes.
Been there.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, so what are you reading right now?
Fun fact about me: I'm dyslexic.
Oh.
So
Aha.
I don't read. I don't sit and read a lot of physical books. Last thing I read, an actual book that I sat down was Mark Stewart from Audio Journalism's book,
Oh.
"Losing My Voice
Oh,
to Find It," which is a
interesting.
great read, by the way.
Yeah.
I read my Bible daily, and as a matter of fact, I use my Bible app on my phone because my phone screen's a lot easier. And I have 112 straight days on my streak, so I'm
All
pretty
right.
I'm like, hey, um,
Streaks.
that's it. So it's like I don't have Snapchat streaks that high, so that's important. So I use my phone. I use my phone daily, Bible app daily, and
Yeah.
that's how I get. And also, I'm on the go, so it's great when you're a person. When I'm sitting somewhere, I can easily just scroll in and do a quick study and stuff. So.
Love it. Love it.
Very cool. Okay, final question. They decide to make a movie of your life. Who plays you?
That is the easiest question that's on here. Charlie Day.
Oh, okay.
Aha.
All right. I like that.
I get confused for Charlie Day all the time. So by voice and by look, hands down. I had a lady at an airport one time so convinced that I was him. She actually came up and was crying. She was just she was so just loving it. And she asked for a selfie, and we took a picture together. And she was like, "I know you. You're a comedian." I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh my gosh," she's freaking out. And so she's like, "I need to call my friend." And so she gets on the phone and she calls her friend. She's like, "Girl, I just met that guy from It's Always Sunny." And
That's
I'll
so
never forget. And I was
good.
like, "Oh, you're talking Charlie Day?" No, that's not. I'm not him. But yeah, either him or I get him and the guy from Dude Perfect. So those are the
Okay,
two.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I would get either one of them too. Hopefully hopefully their careers never fall that far down.
I love it. I love it.
So good.
All right. So people want to find out about you. What's the best way for them to go?
Social media.
Yep.
Facebook is my drug of choice when it comes to social media. But yeah, you can find me there, Adrian Lucio on Facebook, Facebook.com/Adrian the Comic, comedian Adrian Lucio page. Yeah, and I'm in San Saba, Texas this weekend because my career is on fire. I don't even, for those of y'all wondering, I don't know where San Saba is. I'm going to type it in my GPS and pray that my phone takes me there.
Yes.
So, because that's the life we have.
Exactly.
Right? And then, so San Saba, Saturday, church on Sunday. That's pretty much my routine. But yeah, you can find me there, and I'm available for booking. So feel free and reach out. We can get all that taken care of.
I love
And
it.
if you have to fly to a gig, that's extra points, right?
You know what? If you fly me to a gig, I can guarantee you that your cost is going to be a lot cheaper just because I just want to get on the plane.
Exactly.
We all want to get on planes right now.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even care. I mean, just the fact to get on a plane, it's a win for me. So that's what it is.
Leaving our apartment is a win,
Right?
except when it's like 12 degrees outside.
Yeah,
I
right now it's
don't
not
know.
Well, man, we thank you so much for joining us. This was such a pleasure. We had such a blast. We will be praying for you this weekend. I know you're going to have amazing shows, but take care out there, and we will see you on the other side.
Thanks, Adrian.
Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Well, I told you guys would love him. He is such a blast.
Oh, he's so funny.
Oh my gosh. Such a big heart, too. I love that about him.
Yeah.
Speaking of big hearts, next week we will be back with another episode with Mike Tyrone.
Yes.
Mike, we met him years ago through Apartment Life, but he has done senior producer at NBC Universal. He's been a radio producer. He's also helped lead nonprofits, and he's also going to talk to us about One Day 2020, which is a big event that he's a part of with Operation Care International. So
amazing guy. We're so fortunate to have him locked in for next Friday. Next Friday.
Yes.
It is next Friday.
Yep.
Yes.
So, anyways, we will look forward to seeing you guys then. Of course, this weekend is Valentine's Day, so be sure to enjoy it.
Aww.
We're going to enjoy it.
Well, apparently we're going to get like a good amount of snow here in North
That's
Texas.
from me to you.
You don't
'Cause I
like
love
snow.
you. No, but I love you.
I don't like snow.
Oh, well, I can't take it back. There's no refunds.
I'm ready to, go even further south. Like maybe
Like San
Mexico.
Let's go to San Saba.
Woo! I hear there's a great comedian down
That's
there.
right.
We'll have fun. No, we'll just be staying in, trying to stay warm.
Josh, thank you so much. You have a great weekend too, my friend.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much, and we will see you next week.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.